Gosh, welcome. Yes, it is good to come home after you're away. You really appreciate it more,
Yes, a renewed appreciation for what you already have.
and you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to redecorate. It's like you're moving back in again. You've been gone for a while.
I love to think about wanting what we already have, right? Because, like so many of us, we have desire for all the things, right? But when you come home and experience your things again, like, almost as new, like I love my car,
Mhm.
right? I just love my car and I love on it and I want my car, the car that I already have, that almost satisfies some of that desire that maybe we have for other things that we don't necessarily need.
That's right. Well, Deb, let me introduce you a little bit and then we'll get going. So, our listeners are those who have not maybe ever had the experience of traveling, or they had a little taste of it and they want to step into doing more of it in their life. They might want to travel for 3 months or 3 years. And I would like to bring the encouragement to do that and to fit it in your lifestyle, or to
Mhm.
create a lifestyle of travel and introduce people like yourselves who help people step into this world of travel using coaching strategies and lifestyle change ideas, and also showing the world that not everyone's way of traveling is the same and there's no wrong or right way, but it's what is right for us as individuals. So,
Yes.
Deb Anderson from Deb Anderson Coaching, thank you for coming on today and having this good, juicy conversation about travel.
Thank you for inviting me, SharonAnn. I just love that I can be here.
Yes. So we were talking a little bit about experiencing something new, and I heard a study that said that the highest level of happiness comes when we are experiencing something new. And part of
Hmm.
travel is that people are seeking happiness wherever they go. But I think, at least for me, it's about stepping into something new. So tell us a little bit about your travel background and how you got to be a coach from where you were.
Amazing. Yeah. And we'll have to circle back to this happiness and something new because I don't know. I think I might have a little bit of a different take on it. Um, happiness and fulfillment, the fulfillment aspect or angle of the happiness, right? But as I was preparing to have this interview, I was thinking about my travel background and my travel history, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have done so much travel, like, even more than I realized, if that's possible. I didn't originally set out to have a travel career or to have a career where there was a lot of travel, but I went into the Air Force right after college. So I did ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps, in college, and then I got a commission in the Air Force as an officer. And that there was actually travel in college for that, but that really launched my travel career, if you will, right? Because in the Air Force, we were always going what we called TDY, temporary duty, right? TDY. Well, you have an acronym for everything in the military, right? It's like
Yeah,
its
the
own,
go.
yeah, the government, right? It's its own language, right? Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I have done traveling in places, everything from war zones to a staycation. I've done it. So, I think one of the things and that's why like travel doesn't necessarily like spark happiness within me. Although now being retired and being home with my kiddos in the summers, we purchased a towable RV, and in the summers we travel around the US because it's so hot in Tucson, Arizona, where I am. Crazy hot. And we love to get out for the summer and just drive around the US and go from camp to campground, some military rec areas sprinkled in there,
Mhm.
and just enjoy the US, because what I realized was I've traveled so much internationally, I haven't even seen my own backyard.
Yes, I get that. I feel the same way myself. I used to own a travel park in the San
Mhm.
Diego Mountains in
Yeah.
East County of San Diego. So I loved the land and I loved talking to the people who traveled. There were some full-time RVers and they just went around from camp to campground and they
Yeah.
got jobs and they worked for a little while in one place and they moved, but they just saw the world. And I just so envied that. But I was stuck in the business of the campground no
Mm.
longer. But anyway, I totally resonate with what you're saying. There's so much of the US most of us have not seen.
And there is so much to see in the US. But I want to address something that I think, because you mentioned this is for new travelers. And I think one of the things that holds us all back from doing the things we think we want or we dream to do or aspire or crave or whatever is fear,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's the fear. I think that's like the biggest part because as human beings, we crave comfort and safety and all the things that give us this sense of basic safety, right? And so if we're in fear, we want to take small steps. We don't want to like go take a huge step. We want to just take some small steps, almost like rippling ourselves out till
Hmm.
we get a little bit further and further and further away from the comfort or safety of our own home, I think is a great way to think about starting to travel because we really don't need to be afraid. The news, the media, there's a lot of people out there that want you to stay in your house afraid and at home. We don't have to be afraid. There's so many amazing communities, the RV community being one of them.
Yes.
I get help from everyone in the RV community. Someone's always offering to help you. And I think there are other communities that are like that as well. We can get out there because it's our thinking that creates that feeling of fear. And if we think a little bit differently, then I think we can assuage ourselves. We have a motivational triangle as human beings, right? It's that primitive brain. It's seek pleasure, avoid pain. And the third part of it is kind of like be efficient or stay on the couch with the chips and the Netflix, right?
Definitely want you to avoid a change.
Yes. That new thing you were talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly. I always say, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, part of learning to travel and enjoying to travel is that fear factor and just understanding and acknowledging it, but also figuring out a way through it. That's what you're talking about. A little bit at a
Yes,
time.
yes, yes. Just like start really small and be gentle with yourself. Don't beat yourself up for being afraid. It's natural. And just start like I love to call it with my clients like a little wiggle shift. We're just gonna like wiggle ourselves around and shift a little bit. It's enough. Yeah.
So, do you feel like your children and taking your children traveling is normal? Or is it bold? Or is it crazy?
It's funny. It's not the way I grew up, right? I think one of the reasons I do it is because it's the opposite of the way that I grew up, right?
Yeah,
I never went anywhere. And I wanted to get out of the house. It's not that I wanted to travel, it's just I wanted to like get out and be out. And so here in Tucson, because it's so hot, it's the swimming pool or nothing for the movie
right.
theater, right? You can't. And some of the places we've been in the summers, we're just in that surrounded by nature. All our senses are activated. The smells, the sights, the feels, the sounds, you know? And I just like Muir Woods in the Pacific Northwest, right? Or we were at West Point Military Academy this past summer and the Hudson River and just the all the different natures we can be out in. And that was one of my motivating factors. I'll tell you this, some moms I talk to, they're like, what? You drive with the kids every day to get to a destination? And I'm like, yeah, and it's fun. We listen to audiobooks, we listen to music, we talk, we do this, we do that. Sometimes they nap and I'm driving, right? if you want to do it, you can throw up any barrier in front of yourself that you want,
Right.
or you can work to like dismantle those barriers and let yourself go out and do the thing you really want to do.
So how old are your kids? And have you've always taken them traveling?
No. So now, this past summer, 15 and 11,
Okay.
my daughter's 15, my son's 11. We started doing this oh gosh, my kids were pretty young because we started actually sleeping out of the back of my extra long expedition. I had a Ford expedition that was extra long. And when the kids were little, all three of us could sleep in the back of it on a piece of foam.
Yeah.
And it was fun. We were camping. We went to Glacier National Park that way. We went to Whidbey Island that way.
Okay.
And it was fun. The kids were little and it was possible, right? Then they started to grow and it no longer had the allure because there wasn't enough space for all of us to be comfortable. And that's when we bought the RV. So we've been doing this, I guess, I want to say since like, I don't know, like 2017, 2018, sleeping out of the back of the expedition, initially shorter trips, not staying out as long. And then with the RV being able to stay out the entire summer. But now we're having to shorten our trips because my daughter's got some commitments in the summer. She's in high school now. So right now she's actually at band camp and I actually pick her up tonight. So
Okay, nice.
um, yes. So as life morphs and changes, your ability to get out there is going to morph and change. But I will tell you this, many people have commented, what a great education for your kids. And I have to agree. I'd never been to Mount Rushmore before I went with the kids in the summer, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's education for you and a closeness in your family, and you're building memories that um, you can't replace for anything. And had you waited until they grow up to go traveling, they would have been involved in their own lives and with other people, and
Yeah.
it's not the same at all. So I grew up camping with my family. That was our entertainment in Southern California, and from a family that did not have much money to travel or interest to travel
Hmm.
overseas. But my first travel experience, I mean, travel was I wanted to travel urgently, not because home was
Mm.
bad, but because there was so much to see and to do out there. So I got on a plane when I was 19 and I
Hmm.
took off for East Africa as an exchange student. And I lived there for 1 year. And my goal was travel as far as possible from home. And that was exactly halfway around the globe. And the second thing is, I wanted to learn a foreign language, and I lived in a French territory in Africa at the time, and I had taken some French in high school. So mastered the fluent speaking of French there, and I wanted to fall in love, which I did. I met a Greek person born and raised in Africa, and oh, he was so handsome and he knew all these languages, and we did all these adventures and camping and doing safaris, and it was great fun, and visited Ethiopia and Yemen before it was not a good country to visit. We went to
Mm.
Somalia, so it was definitely a desert country. And then I also wanted to learn how to cook exotic foods, and
Oh,
I did. I
yeah.
did. So that was my first adventure, but I got on the airplane. I had $200 in my wallet and a round trip ticket. That's it for a year.
Wow.
So
That's an amazing leap.
not everybody's going to do that. No,
No.
probably nobody is going to do that.
I could just imagine the heart attack I would have if my daughter says she was going to do that.
My parents are awesome people. And you know what they said to me, SharonAnn? If that will make you happy, we will support you. My son wanted to do that. No, no, you can't go.
Right? But you know what? At the same time, I do think it's a little bit of a different world that we live in now.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
maybe it's not so different, but because of social media and news feeds and all the things like, and there are more people on the planet now, and that
Yes.
does make a difference because you have more of the good, amazing people, but you also have maybe more of the not so amazing people, right? And so I think that it all has to be a balance. But if you've got the desire and you're aware, I think that's one of the biggest things. If we go back to a little bit of the safety, especially for our kids or young adults, right? That awareness and that presence of almost body posture and
Yes.
confidence, even,
Yes.
right? And then if you can teach that and then have some self-defense skills, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who take off for Europe with a backpack, when
Yeah.
you have a gap year between high school and college, and I think
Mhm.
it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's that sense of a 360. I call it the sense of the 360. What
And being smart, right? Like, not going out to the Eiffel Tower at 2 a.m.
exactly, exactly. And
And since you have the Eiffel Tower, can I just say that I'm super excited because my daughter is going on a musicians abroad trip. So it's a guided and adult-led trip abroad, and she's going to be performing at the Eiffel Tower next summer. So
oh, wow, what an experience. Oh, wonderful. It's one of my favorite cities in the world.
love it.
So you're a life coach and do you coach at the same time as you travel with kids?
Yes, actually, I do. So it's so much fun because I can take my work on the road because all I need is this Zoom connection
Yes.
and we're good to go. Sometimes I coach from the car, like I'll have a setup in the car. And sometimes I coach from the travel trailer. There's a bedroom door, so I close that. The kids know when I've got, a working day booked, right?
Uh-huh.
And usually what happens, like we'll be at a stop, like I remember one time we were stopped at a base in Kansas actually, and the kids would ride their bike to the library and they'd go to we call it like the base exchange for like a snack, and they'd ride around and then they'd come back to the trailer and my
Yeah.
day was done and then we went off and did the other stuff that we do, right? So it's so portable and it's so possible. Sometimes I'm in a hotel room. I really think that COVID changed so many things.
Yes.
And it's so much more acceptable to travel and work now. I think if that's something you want to do, go for it. In fact, I was just chatting with my son's friend's dad yesterday. He's a dentist, and we were troubleshooting. We were trying to figure out how he could travel more. They haven't made the nano robot yet that you can use to like work on people's teeth while it's not quite there.
No.
So if that's something that you want to do, then consider your profession that you go into, consider the career that you aspire to or go after. Consider that because there are some obviously that you can do remotely, and it's almost encouraged. And that no, you physically need to be present.
You're right. Thinking in advance and thinking about the skills that you have. If you're ready to leave the corporate job or the place that nailed you into an office all day long,
Yeah.
you can do this, but you don't have to do it all of a sudden by, oh, yeah,
Right.
here's my resignation. I'm going to go do something else on the
Mm,
shores of Bali. You could do this a little bit at a time.
yes.
And that's what it's a building your skills, but it's also building your courage and building your capacity for enjoyment of change. But the
Mm,
whole thing needs to be about enjoyment of and fulfillment of the life that you have, not just because you're following somebody else's steps, but because you're creating your own pathway forward, your way.
yes. I love what you just said, the capacity of enjoyment for change. And I love helping people transition, right? Because that's a transition from,
Yes.
say, corporate to a consultant or to their own business kind of thing. And I do believe you can build that side hustle, if you will. You can build that on the side alongside your job. Don't quit your job. People, everybody, do not quit your job.
That's right. Unless
Stay
you win the lottery or get a great inheritance and you're, yeah.
Well, in the coaching world, we actually call that changing your circumstance, right? So you have a circumstance like, maybe it's the house that you live in, or it's the job that you have, or it's the car that you drive. And we always think it's natural, it's normal. We think, oh, when I get that new job, then I'll be happy. When I get that new car, then I'll be happy. When I move to that new city, then I'll be happy. But the thing that's constant is you. You take yourself and your brain to all those different circumstances. So if we want to be happier, say, in our job, or we think another job will be happier in that, we actually want to take a step back and a couple of beats and start working on ourselves so that we can be happy in any circumstance. That's a skill set we can develop, elevates our capacity for enjoying change. And then we can make a move. And then we can just transition to a different career or a different job or a different city or a new car.
So what you're saying is anyone who decides you you begin with the end in mind. So you want to be a
Mm.
person who travels, but who's able to work and generate income. And then you step back and then you look at what skills you already have and what you might need to learn and what is your best path to transition. And that's what coaching can help you do, get from A to Z faster with less grief. And
Well,
then,
I don't know about that. I don't know about that because we start at A and we think it's linear to get to B, but it's not. And everyone, I think, has a different path and different work to be
yes,
done.
I agree with that. Now, there was one thing that intrigued me on your website, which is going to be listed in the show notes. But what is a lead lab?
Oh, thank you for asking. Yeah. So the Lead Lab is my group coaching program, and it's for leaders, managers, mid-level management, frontline leaders. It's for leaders who want to continue to learn and grow and develop their skill sets. I say beyond the certificate. So we've all been to the 2 or 3 day leadership workshop, right? And then
Yeah,
we get the stamp of approval, the certificate, the permission to go forth and go on, right?
conquer.
But what happens is people need support after that
Yes.
because when you take these new skills maybe that you learned back to your workplace and you try to implement, that's where the rubber meets the road and that's where all the friction is and that's where we need help applying the skills maybe that we've learned or developing those skills into our way of doing it, right? Because many leadership courses out there give you advice. No, do it this way. You should do it like this, all these things, right? But it's not integrated with who you are authentically and it doesn't vibe or resonate. And it's kind of awkward.
Yes, because you're learning someone else's pattern, stepping
So
all
the
over your own.
So in the Lead Lab, we do lab work. We work it out. We figure out, well, what parts and pieces could work for you and how would you like to apply this thing or have this difficult conversation or give this feedback session or, bring this issue with the process to the attention of the boss or whatever it is, your specific example, we pull all the parts and pieces of that out and we look at it and we figure out the formula for you to move forward.
I think probably one of the best advantages to that program with you, Deb, is that people, leaders, can feel not alone because they're
Yes.
going through the only one going through this experience.
Mhm.
Other people are feeling the same.
Yes. I think, well, obviously, loneliness is on the rise. There have been studies that have come out recently, especially if we're still working remote or if now we're working 100% remote. And then many of the questions I get is, how do I lead my people remotely? Right. So we work through some of that stuff. I think is lonely. And many mid-leaders, mid-level managers, even above that, we feel like we can't ask questions. We feel like we're supposed to know everything. We feel like we have to have all the answers. That is not true. I encourage everyone out there, if you're in that situation, like, build a board of directors around you or a group of mentors. Find yourself a coach, find yourself a mentor, find yourself a trusted friend or individual. Maybe find even someone from a different industry or career path
Mhm.
and build yourself people that you can go to with questions, with concerns, with issues, with asking for help. Asking for help can feel like fear or death, right? But we all need help. And when we ask for the help that we need, people will come and help us.
I think that's one thing that most humans have in common is we love to help others. And it's a
Mm,
real honor when we're asked, or and it's to remember when I ask someone else, they tend to feel like it's an honor to be asked because I'm saying, well, I don't know all the answers to all the questions, and it's an elevation question, really.
I love that you said that because I can circle that back to the happiness aspect, right?
Mhm.
When we are in service to others,
Yes.
we are the happiest.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Now, are there any things back to the travel question?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are there any well, what three things do you most love about travel? Three things that you don't enjoy.
I don't actually enjoy the process of traveling. I don't like flying, and I'll say commercially, because we actually have some little airplanes ourselves, but I don't like flying on those either.
Okay.
I don't like flying on military transport.
Okay.
I don't like the actual act of traveling. I don't like packing. I don't like the act of traveling. I love the destination. I love going to some place that I want to experience, explore, be, etc. I actually do love driving. I do. I took a train this summer. It was an Amtrak, and I thought I had this impression in my mind of it was going to be romantic and it was going to be the best experience and it was going to be awesome and amazing. I even booked myself like a private car and all this. It was a complete disaster.
Because
Well, they canceled my private car. They canceled my ticket. I'm
oh,
literally going to check in and they're like, "You're canceled. You're no, you didn't." I'm like, "Wait, I booked it months ago." It's Amtrak, and then there was like delays and a lot of things.
you're not in control.
And I've arrived at this place. It wasn't necessarily that I wanted control, but I did want a pleasant trip. And
Yes.
all the things that collided and happened took away from that. I thought I was just going to plop down on this train and it was going to be amazing, but it just didn't
Yeah.
quite work that way. Um, let's see. You asked me for three things that I love. I think I pretty much covered the things I don't love, right? I do love to drive. I love the destination. I love nature. I love our national parks. This past summer, we went to the North Rim of the Grand Canyon and
Yeah.
it wasn't crowded and the views were spectacular. I love spectacular views. I love nature. Yeah, I love landscapes that are not the desert.
Yes. Yeah. I
Oh, hiking. I also love to hike. And we used an app this summer that is really amazing and I highly recommend. It's called All Trails for hiking. Have you heard of it?
no.
It's a
ALL.
ALLTRAILS.
Okay.
All Trails, just like all smashed together one word. But if you want to hike, I highly recommend that app.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I live in the Olympic Peninsula, and so we have the Olympic Mountains to hike in, and there's tons of waterfall. I better not talk because all those people are going to just come and visit us.
Ah,
It's beautiful here. Come at
yeah.
all seasons, actually. It's
Mhm.
really beautiful. And the wildlife and the mountains and the Puget Sound, the Salish Sea. It's so beautiful here. Just like I love it.
Yes, Whidbey Island is on our list for next summer. We actually have a driftwood plaque on the Naval Air Station that we love to go and update with a new year so they don't take it down.
Yeah.
It's like family monuments on the beach at Whidbey Island. I love being cold in the summertime.
Yeah.
I think it's Mark Twain that said, I've never been as cold as a summer in San Francisco. Is that Mark Twain?
Yeah. Something like that. I agree with that.
Yeah. And so I've never been so cold as in June on Whidbey Island.
Yeah. It can get,
I had to go to the Navy store, the base exchange on the Navy base, and I bought myself, you've probably seen them in the movies, those sweatpants with Navy down the side. I had to buy a pair of those because I was so cold.
tell me, Deb, what story can you remember that illustrates your flexibility, both with your coaching hat and with your mom and travel hat?
Oh,
Any-
interesting. Well, I could tell that Amtrak story, but another one comes to mind. And when you're towing a trailer and you're trying to back up, it's a skill set in itself, like
Yeah.
backing up with a trailer, right?
Mhm.
We arrived at this campground in Red Lodge, Montana, and um, there was a backup situation that needed to happen.
Oh dear.
And when it happens, the first thing I'll do is look for someone at a neighboring campsite and ask for help. And this is what I did. And so this nice, super nice gentleman that was helping me had a can of bear spray on his belt. And I was gonna say something, but I didn't. But he got in my car to drive the car to pick up the trailer for me. And the guy was so nice, such a great community, right? Well, his bear spray went off in my car.
Oh, oh,
So he was suffering, and I was like, oh my God, there's bear spray in my car. I lived with that bear spray in my car. This is the expedition I'm talking about, right? Like that I had mentioned earlier. I lived with, like, it was years, but at the time it was like, oh my gosh. So we were trying to get him cleared up. He's still like backing up the trailer. He parked that trailer for me, and he was like, and so what ended up happening was I spent a couple hours trying to clean the bear spray out of my car. It actually like eroded the finish on my dash. And anyway, the trailer was parked. So that was amazing. I tried to help him get the bear spray off his face. I mean, it
is
was
it a gel or is it
just
is it
spray.
dust?
It's like pepper spray, like to the 100th degree. It
Oh,
was crazy. And so, like, it got on me as I'm trying to clean the car, right? Don't want to let that stuff sit in your car. But I kept my calm. Like I did not yell. There was no yelling. I was like, and the kids were fine and they went off and played by the river and I'm trying to clean all the things. Then I get in the shower at the end of the day and I'm literally like bear spray was in my hair and it was like coming down in my eyes and I'm like, ah.
yeah.
But well, I'll tell you this, Red Lodge, Montana, it is gorgeous there. And
In there.
it was that destination. We just worked through all of it relatively calmly and then enjoyed our stay.
So the moral of that story is no matter what bad things might happen, and if they were to happen to many people, it would have been a cause for panic and a cause for loud words and nasty comments. But because of who you are and being level-headed and doing a lot of self-coaching work, you were able to work through that and survived, and now you have a story.
Yeah, and I had bear spray in my fabric visor.
Yeah.
Literally for years, I would touch it, and then if I touched anywhere on my face, I would the bear spray. It was a long-lived story, but I will tell you this: like, you can't change the past. Even moments in the past. Once that bear spray went off, there's nothing that you do is gonna change that. So now what? Now who do you want to be?
Yes.
How do you want to show up in that situation? I just actually had another coach because as a coach, which is amazing, right? And she was asking me, she was, explaining some of the coaching we were going to go through, and she was asking me 3 things that you're proud of. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can come to the session with that. And I want to encourage like everyone out there, 3 things you're grateful for and the 3 things that you're proud of, maybe in your life or in this season, whatever it is. Because I think showing up in a way that you would be proud of in any situation that is challenging is always the way to think about it and the way to go.
You are so right. And I think our kids watch us do what we say they need to do, in which we repeat the things we hear from our parents or we've heard from our parents. Our children do what we do.
Yes. Yes. In fact, I was listening to another podcast and it was talking about ask your kids about what they think about money.
Yeah.
And it's not what you've told them about money.
Yeah.
It's how you handle money. It's like what you do with money. That's what's going to come out of them.
Yeah.
So it's just another reminder. Kids are sponges. They,
I get that. Yeah.
they,
Yes. So I just want to recap about travel and travel with kids. It is the best experience in our children's
Mm,
life. The time they spent with their parents going somewhere and that closeness they got when as they were there and what they remember from being there. We took our son to Hawaii. We took our son to Costa Rica for quite some time. We took our son to Greece to meet his Greek relatives. And I have a picture of him in front of the one of the Greek pillars of the Parthenon, and he's standing like
mm,
this with his hands up like that, and big smile on his face. And in fact, he went to Greece for his honeymoon not too long ago. So things like that stick in our kids' minds. And
I want to say one other thing on that. If I,
yeah, yeah.
and, I think my kids as siblings have grown closer to each other
Oh, yeah,
because of our summer traveling trips. And that to me is one of the best benefits
yeah. And
because they're spending lots of time together, which, if you've got kids in school, they're not a lot of time together. And then when you get home, it's either for homework or other things that are disconnecting them
mhm.
from spending time together at home. But when you get out and travel for summer or whenever, there it's like you're your own microcosm and you're just with each other.
Yes, that's true. And wherever you are in the United States or in Greece or Costa Rica or in Europe or South America, Mexico, anywhere you go, you can make it happen. And it is what you decide to happen. And also your, I guess, flexibility. And I think part of this is not making your mind up in advance how it's going to be.
Mm.
Just experience the time and the enjoyment of the day as it unfolds and without the same time pressures as we have here. So we could talk for hours and hours and hours travel and how and coaching and living life and working it's all possible.
Can I say one more thing? Because
Yeah.
you sparked in me, like when we uh, normally, like this past summer, we spent 3 days in Manhattan.
Mhm.
So we left the trailer at like West Point and then we went to Manhattan and we didn't have a plan. I don't do this, we follow a pretty rigid schedule during the school year. And so the summers are more free. So we arrive at our destination and then we decide, okay, what looks good? What did we think we want to do here? Right. And we had an amazing 3 days that we just planned on the fly.
Yeah.
We saw the 9/11 Memorial Museum. We went to the top of One World Trade Center. We experienced the subway, the Statue of Liberty. Like we did all the things without overpacking, overscheduling, having to be here, there, and the other right on time and adding stress and extra scheduling
Mhm.
to the vacation. I
Mhm.
don't do that. I love to just Okay, what do we feel like? What looks good? What should we do? What do you want to do? And we all pick a thing and then we go do those things.
That's wonderful. That's what I call claiming freedom. And I wish all the people in the world could claim freedom just
I
like
love
that.
that.
Thank you, Deb
Claiming
Anderson.
freedom.
And thank you for talking with us and sharing your life and travel experiences and your coaching, I guess, approach.
Mindset.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And you will be show notes. And thank you all.
Thank you.